Hey guys, Mason Marangella here, the Rig Doctor. Welcome to my California workshop. Today, I'm going to be helping out a good buddy of mine, my good friend Joe, who's been one of my earliest clients, one of the first people to ever buy any prototypes of my pedals way back in the mid-2000s. And he just did a huge favor for us earlier this summer where he built us 2 raised beds, planted some beautiful tomatoes and zucchinis and squashes and all sorts of summer and fall crops. We're already reaping the benefits of that, and I wanted to say thank you to him. And he's had this big rig for a long time. He's wanted to consolidate, and I thought what would be better than getting him into one of our new pedal boards, being able to consolidate all of his effects into a smaller rig. And I actually think we're going to be able to take his rig, which was formerly about 24 by maybe 16. I think we're going to be able to get that down to 17 by 10 in one of our travel light pedal boards. And I just got one in from the factory, so I wanted to open it up and just show you what we're gonna be getting into. My name is Mason Marangella. I build rigs for the industry's top professionals. Now I'm teaching guitarists how to build rigs like the pros with DIY tips, easy mods, and all the tricks of the trade. I am the Rig Doctor. Look at that. Beautiful unboxing. It's what all the pedal boards come like when they come from the factory. All made in the USA. Bam. So that is a beautiful travel light 17 by 10 pedal board. Now, sometimes you'll see on our pedal boards, they all come stock with 3 legs. I typically remove the middle leg just because it's usually not something that we need on most of our boards, but it's there if you need it. So I'm just going to unscrew it. It's very easy to get that to going. Just remove them. It's basically just 3 screws. That takes off the leg, so pretty easy way to do it. And again, this leg has a hole in it as well, so if you ever needed to put it back on, you could route cables through this if that was something that you needed. I do leave the regular sides solid in case we wanted to modify these by adding jacks, and in fact I think I might end up doing something like that for Joe because he's got a volume pedal and he doesn't like leaving it on the board, so I might actually make him a little insert for that so that you could have something that's off the pedal board, but when nothing's plugged into that loop, it normalizes, sends everything through as you normally would. But enough talk about this. Let's get into building this board. I have Joe coming over any minute. He's going to be dropping off his stuff. We're going to be talking about what he wants, and we're going to make sure that we can fit it on this small pedal board, and then we'll get into the building. So let's do it. So this is kind of what I'm imagining we're going to be able to fit everything on. 17 by 10. We'll put the power supply here, the RJM switcher once it arrives, and then I'll figure out the best place for the pedals, probably keeping the MIDI stuff like the Eventide somewhere on the top row so you have access to everything. But I don't see why we wouldn't be able to fit everything here. I just want to make sure that if there's any special requests that I accommodate those for you. Is there anything that we need to be aware of as this thing's coming together?
Nothing that I could think of. I just, I have to say, I'm a little skeptical you're going to be able to fit all this stuff on here. But
yeah,
the main thing.
Well, we can always go up. I got other sizes.
No, I got it. But the main thing is that, you know, I'm able to turn off a number of effects and turn on at the same time. If I could program something like that, it's just going to be really helpful.
What about in terms of? So we're going to control the MIDI of the H9 with the RJM. For the Vertex boost, do you ever use the volume pedal, or is that something that we need to consider?
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. What mechanism do you have for that? I mean,
so we can either build it into the interface that you already have, but we're already pretty full on that thing in terms of jacks. I could put it in the side here, so we could basically like mount 2 jacks. I'll just basically use kind of 2 jacks similar to this and just actually mount them into the wall. and I'll just label it like send and return. Would something like that work?
That's great. Gosh, is that gonna fit in there? That's awesome.
Yeah, I think so, because your interface is pretty low, like this one is.
Yeah.
So I think that it'll fit there.
Clear. I see. Okay.
And then I'll put these guys kind of right over it, so it'll work that way.
Okay.
And then we can route in this area to kind of come through. So that should be pretty easy. I'm just gonna make a note here for myself by throwing a little painter's tape, just so I know that we're gonna be drilling out a little something on that side. So I do that kind of before I make a mess with having metal shards all over with the pedals.
Sure.
All right.
Wow, that's a great feature. I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
Okay. Well, so I'll see what I can do. If I can't fit it on this, I'll call you.
Okay.
And we'll just go to the next size up, which would be 22 by 11. So not too much bigger, but I want to really try to fit it on all this.
That would be awesome. If
Okay.
You could, so.
Well, then I will look forward to the RJM should be here any day. The power supply should be here any day, and we'll just meet back up and get the pedals, and then I'll start right away.
Yeah, and I'll just call you if I have any other. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. That sounds great, though.
Cool. Awesome.
Right.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.
So we're back in my workshop, and I got a head start on this rig the night before, so all the pedals were ready on the board, and the power was already wired in, so I could get right into building my audio cables first thing in the morning. If you want to see my complete pedalboard layout process, definitely check out my personal John Mayer SRV style rig build that I did on the link right here. Part of the reason why I wanted to get a head start here is Joe and I weren't completely sure whether we would be able to fit everything that he needed in this small space. We actually had more room than we were expecting. Originally, we wanted to use an H9. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to use an H9 due to space, and Joe was using a TC flashback before this. It turned out that we had ample space, not only for that, but for everything else, although I did have to modify the Chula in order to fit the output jack on the top, just because it would have been sticking off the side. That was kind of the only thing that was a question mark for us. But as you can see, we managed to fit everything comfortably on here. Everything had its own space, plenty of room to spare. Definitely not enough for another pedal, but I think everything is in the exact space that we needed to get to. Now we're going to be moving to the audio routing. This is something that I love to do using painter's tape, and if you've watched any of our videos before, when you're dealing with switchers and you got a lot of cables coming and going, you want to label everything so you know whether it's a send or it's a return and what number it's corresponding to. So what you're seeing me do here is label them so that I know where everything's going in relationship to the switcher. I've pre-labeled with my Brother P-Touch labeler what all of the actual connectors are, so I know which ones are sends and returns as well. I've labeled the interface. This just helps me keep track of everything, because again, lots of cables coming and going. We need to know where stuff is going to be, what it's going to, so that we don't have a miswire, we don't accidentally put a send in and a return. This just keeps everything nice and clean and laid out perfectly. One thing that I'll add to this is I love to do single-sided cables. So I basically like building one end of the cable first and then routing it to the actual pedal that it's going to go to. This way, when I cut it down to size, I already have one side already done, and I can make it the exact size that I need in order to have the perfect amount of slack for that particular pedal. So again, I'm soldering one side together, I'm leaving the other side unterminated, routing it nicely to where I want it to go, and then I cut it and make the other side once it's already in place. And I love using the bottom of these new pedal boards as kind of a place to put some of my cables for not only power but for audio. And you can see here that I used it very effectively. I made kind of a straight line underneath, right where the cables are going to exit into the top row of the riser. That's just a really nice way to give you nice clean lines. It's staying out of the way and kind of bundling everything together in a way that's going to make nice continuity as far as the routing of the cables is concerned. I don't really make a big deal about separating DC from the audio cables. The main reason why is the signals that we're running on guitar cables are so low that there's really no risk in terms of bundling these together. We're using high quality shielded cables, and all of the current and voltage requirements of all these pedals is very low. The only condition that we'd have to really be careful about moving away any power cable from the audio cables is if we were running AC lines. So either hardwired AC plugs that were coming out of the back of devices or AC powered devices. So now that the board is complete, let's bring in Mejia so I can run you through the signal path. So we are totally finished with Joe's rig. This thing turned out better than I could have ever imagined. So let's take a little sneak peek of what we got. So we have the RJM PCB6X, one of the best controllers for MIDI programmable loopers in the business. We have 6 loops in this plus an insert loop. So to kind of give you a sense of how we decided to go with things, we have loop 1 is the Octron. Loop 2 is the SP compressor, so that's sitting under the bridge. Then we're going to go up top. Loop 3 goes to the Chula. I added a jack here because I didn't want the output side to be hanging off the board. So I basically just created a parallel output, so either one will work. This is just so it's not hanging off the board. It fits in the case nicely. So that's what I've done with that extra jack. Originally, I was actually going to use it for a trigger for the second foot switch over here, but he never uses that, so there wasn't really a need for that, so I just kept it so that it doesn't pour over the side of the pedal board. Loop 4 is the Blackstone, classic, beautiful overdrive. Loop 5 is the Janray. Then loop 6, we go back up front to the Jacques Meistersinger chorus, beautiful analog chorus. And then the insert loop, where you can move it around, we have the Vertex boost. And this is also connected to a volume pedal loop. Remember, we talked about that in the intro, that we put right here on the side. And this is basically the same as an audition loop. This just makes it so when you plug into this, your volume pedal is working. When you unplug, the boost, which is connected to the volume pedal, functions normally. This is the same way you would wire an audition box on your pedal board interface or anything like that. So just so you know there. And then after the PBC6, we go to the Eventide H9. This is primarily doing delay and reverb, and it's all controlled via MIDI, so it doesn't need to occupy one of the loops of the RJM. It's kind of like having a free loop when you use the MIDI to control that. So that's what we're doing here. And then underneath, I have a nice stereo interface that allows Joe to run 2 amps if he wants. There's a polarity switch on the back side if he needs to use that in order to match the polarity of using 2 amplifiers. So he's got everything taken care of, isolated output on the right, and then you can see sort of in here, sort of buried, the audition loop, which I've covered with heat shrink just so there's no risk of those shorting to anything. I'm going to maybe run it through a quick demo to see how it sounds, but I really want to see what Joe thinks about it since this is going to him ultimately and not me. So let's go check it out. Oh, Joe.
Hello.
Zeke's
Hi,
excited.
Mason.
And this is also Mason.
Hello, Mason, too.
We're gonna head right back there, Joe. You're gonna see your board as soon as you walk through.
Oh, my God. Look at that, Zeke. Can you believe it?
Zeke's more excited than any of us.
No, I can't be more excited than me.
But you don't pee when you get a really excited moment. So on that metric, Zeke wins.
That you know of.
Yeah, that I know of. You know, I want to hear you play through it, and I got it set up. The whole thing, even in the case, 22 by 14 by 10. It's pretty dang good.
It's perfect, man. Look at that.
Well, Joe, I'm so glad that you're happy. Thank you for...
Oh, so exciting,
Yeah.
man. I can't wait to take it home and start asking you a bunch of questions.
That's cool, man. I just appreciate you hooking us up with such the beautiful planter boxes and where you get our fruit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm so happy we were able to get that resolved for Joe. He, again, was one of my earliest clients that I ever had in the history of the company, has bought almost every single one of my pedals that I've ever made, and he made us those beautiful garden boxes. I definitely wanted to pay him back with a nice favor and a beautiful looking pedal board, so I'm so glad that he dug it, that he was happy with the way it turned out, got the tones that he wanted in a nice, small, compact package using our travel light pedal boards. If you like what you saw today, I highly recommend that you give us a thumbs up, that you leave us a comment, tell us what part you like best about this rig build and any other things that you want to see in future videos from us, and definitely subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can stay up to date on all the latest stuff that we're putting out. Also, if you like what you saw here, I can guarantee you that you're gonna love the Rig Doctor podcast, and you can check that out on Apple, Spotify, and all the podcatchers. And if you want some expert advice from me and our group of technicians, definitely go and check out our Patreon page where we offer one-on-one services and even a free version of the account. If you can't afford any of the tier level of services, just send us an email and we will get you hooked up for a weekly Q&A with me and all the other Patreon members, as well as some exclusive deals and discounts that are reserved for our members only. Until next time, I'm Mason Marangella, the Rig Doctor. See you later.